will blow your mind as to how, oh, now it all makes sense. Because, how could a God use magic tricks to free his children from Egypt and then turn right around and say, you can't use magic tricks. Anybody that does, burn them to death. It's like, oh, shit, we better go drag Moses out of, Moses is the biggest damn magic trickster.
Explain.
And,
Explain.
Explain that?
Yeah.
Well, crap, look at the book, okay? The book of Job, it's all about, the sons of heaven, they all met and they all sat around with God. They had this committee meeting, and, and Satan walked up amongst them, and, it's like, and, Satan said, you know what? You're full of shit, dude. I bet I can trick one of them. And God said, well, consider my servant Job. Do your worst. And sure enough, God allowed Satan. He said, the only thing I don't want you to do is kill Job. But anything else that you want to do to try to turn him against me, you go right ahead. Job.
And he did.
Job's property was destroyed. Job's cattle were destroyed. Job's children were killed. But he couldn't touch Job. And sure enough, Job, he sat there in sackcloth and ashes. And then, the book, he goes on and on and on about Job's, diatribe to God about it. But he never lost faith. And if you read that, and then you go back to all those books that Moses read or wrote, you can look at that and, and realize that all it was Satan and God up in the ante. And I'll say this, I'll go out on a limb and go ahead and show you what a radical I am, is that I believe thoroughly in the Gospels. But as soon as that Apostle Paul starts writing stuff, well, there's your problem. Because he's the one that tried to form a damn religion around it. He's the one that tried to start setting rules when the one that freed us from the rules, his feet had hardly cleared the ground. And there is no proof whatsoever that Paul ever met Jesus. And the apostles of the time who actually met Jesus, especially Mary Magdalene, probably the closest one to him, they were shouted down. They were shouted down. And they were shouted down by Paul. Paul wrote specific things in the Bible against women in the church. Women in the church should keep silent. That's not the goddamn words of Jesus. That's the words of Paul. And that's, so probably the best thing to remember is that, what Paul wrote is all Paul. It ain't, Jesus didn't sit down and start scribbling one day, and he darn sure didn't sit down and start scribbling in the 16th century and come up with the King James Bible. And here probably the most important thing is to remember is that Jesus was a carpenter. He was not a scribe. He didn't write shit except what he wrote in the dust that day. That day freed the adulteress.
Tell me about that. I'm not that familiar with the Bible.
The story of the adulteress where they dragged the woman out. Notice the man's nowhere around. Hey, it takes two to commit adultery, honey. But, the man's nowhere around, but the crowd drags the poor girl out there to Jesus. And, and Jesus said, what do you want me to do? They said, well, we're supposed to stone her to death. And Jesus said, well, hold up. And he got down on his knees and he started scribbling in the dust with his finger. And he started writing. We don't know what he wrote because it's not recorded. But he wrote, and then he looked up and he said, any of the rest of you going to condemn her? Oh, hold on a second. And then he started writing again. And then he looked up and the only one left was the woman. And he said, woman, Where are the ones that condemned you? She said, they all ran off. And he said, well, neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. You know, that's the example of, you know, before he even died, what he did there. You know, if nobody else here to condemn you, well, neither do I. Haul your ass. And she did.
Pretty powerful.
Well, that's the whole damn point. And, you know, that's the whole point. He came to set us free from that crap. You know, and like I said, I can, you know, I love my Pentecostal brothers to death, but Pentecostals, really, do you really think that the man that hung and died from a cross is going to slap us into hell over minutia? I mean, because what would have been the point? Getting back to the point that he was not a scribe, yet he was a carpenter, is that what do scribes do? They sit and they write and they write and they write and they write. What do carpenters do?
They build.
They take nails and wood and build something that was not there before. And that's what our Savior did. He took nails and wood and he built something that was not there before, which is the stairway to heaven. Yes, it's through him, but it's not like any man's ever described it to you before. And to, you know, seek him first. It's that simple. Seek him first. You know, and you know, like he said, my sheep know my voice. I know my sheep and they know me. And he also said, Spirit moves amongst the lost. You know, I might have 99 of them in the sheep pen, but I'm going to go out and I'm going to find that one that's missing because I'm supposed to have 100. So I'll go find that one however I have to. And that's where it comes in, the artistry of this world of the sheep moving through the lost. And the artistry of he will find you. And, you know, you just have to listen to his voice. And you'll find a whole lot in, you know, just watching